Welcome back to the Game With Us podcast. We are discussing the final episode of The Last of Us, the title of which Aiden predicted, Look for the Light.
Yeah, I'm gonna collect in so many Chuck E. Cheese tokens, baby. You have no idea.
If only, yeah, I was gonna say, man, yeah, it's such a clever reference. If only one of us had the foresight
thought of that?
before. But,
Yeah.
oh wow,
my galaxy size frontal lobe predicted accurately.
That's it's true. You did call that shot long before you came in the room.
Yeah. But first things first. This episode tell us short.
It's the shortest episode in the whole series.
Is it really?
It is.
I didn't
43
check the
minutes.
time, but okay. It does move through quickly.
It does.
That's surprising. Huh.
Yeah. And yeah, I was like looking at that. I was like, is that really 43 minutes?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. Like, man, they were just like, okay, guys, come on. Let's go. Let's get over it.
In this
Probably
time.
not, but
I mean, I think they had, I don't know. Yeah, there was not a lot of it's not like they wasted any time anywhere. That's for sure. I feel like there was.
Well, they did cut out a whole section going through the subway that's flooded.
yes,
and
they cut out an entire section. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, there's no real character development that goes on there. It's just like fighting an infected and finding a pallet for Ellie, and yeah. So,
And
Oh God, yeah.
yeah.
That's kind of the stuff that they have tended to abbreviate or skip
Yeah.
past entirely. It seems like throughout. So.
The stuff that wasn't in the game though is everything with Anna,
I was gonna
played by
ask.
the
Oh, that was
amazing
great.
Ashley Johnson, which Erik is the lady who played Ellie in the games.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's actually very, very cool. Oh,
Yeah.
man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Which you
catch
might
that.
know her from Critical Role as well.
Oh, she did look familiar and it didn't connect, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what she was doing before Critical Role, but that's that's a long. She was a successful voice actor.
Yeah.
She was doing The Last of Us before Critical Role. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, timing on that, I'm not 100% sure when they started doing what, but regardless.
That's true, actually.
A trip, nonetheless. I did not connect those dots either. That certainly didn't. But we got a pre-intro sequence again.
The cold open. Been a while.
We didn't
We
have
got
that.
They recapped the entire series, which
They
I
did.
thought was a really interesting touch.
I think they did a good job with it too. Like they
Yeah.
were able to, I mean, that was like 2 minutes or something and hit the major beats of the whole show. I mean, it was basically those, each of the recaps kind of stitched together more or less, but they found those other scenes that were, I don't know, kind of conveyed where the story was then, using some scenes that weren't used in those recaps before. Did a good job. You're right on that. It was good.
Man, what is with HBO and traumatic birth scenes? Have any of you seen House of the Dragon?
No.
That's the one scene of House of the Dragon that I have seen, actually.
Oh.
Really? I mean, there
stopped
are
in
a
at
few-
somebody's house during that scene. And they were like, yeah, it's not always like this. I mean, this isn't way further than usual, but it's not always like this. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, like, House of the Dragon has several, but you mean like the big one with like Viserys and his wife?
I guess I'm not really
section?
sure. It was just a big bloody birth sequence. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I just stopped in somebody's house. But
Anyway, it was really fucked
zero
up.
context for the scene.
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty up there. I mean, running away from infected while you're pregnant and the infected is trying to
In labor?
bite you.
Like,
Yeah, and then she just it's so traumatic. She just gives gives birth during it.
I thought that was almost like a comedy beat when she looks down and like, oh, the baby's out.
Oh.
Like,
It's like there's so much adrenaline shooting.
Right.
Even though in real life, that would be horrifically violent.
I mean, I'm not
It
sure.
still was, but
there are some people who have childbirths that are like less of a strain than others, I suppose. I'm not 100% sure how that all goes.
As somebody who will never have to deal with that, I can't say.
Right. It's
not
direct
my place.
worry of mine, I suppose.
There does seem to be a spectrum as far as how smoothly or long or traumatic childbirths go in real life.
I'm sure. But regardless, what'd you guys think of that? The whole scene, that's the part.
I loved that we got... I just love that we got it, because that we didn't have that information, and I just thought that it was excellent. I love that it, like, Ashley Johnson and Bella Ramsey, like, they kind of look like they could be related.
Oh yeah, totally. I think it's mostly in, like, the nose.
Yeah.
Kind of general face shape stuff, Feels like a Mari episode before too long, just, pointing at two pictures, like, see? But the who's the dad stuff, nobody.
You'll never find out. We'll never find out.
Yeah, the dad's never brought up. Kind of like how we don't talk about Joel's wife, right? We don't talk about Ellie's dad.
Yeah, and it's not relevant really. Like, we're just getting this tidbit of, like, Ellie's life began with violence, sort of. And I suppose the connection to Marlene from the get-go. That was a nice little tidbit. I thought it was like a good connection to show.
That actually made me really sad when she's like, how long have we known each other? And it kind of made me think of, like, this could be Ellie and Riley if they'd grown up. Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah. No,
yeah.
You're right.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I remember in the hospital sequence in the game, there were notes that Marlene wrote, and she's basically saying, like, man, Anna, shit sucks. Yeah. I wish you were here. It'd be great to have a friend here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting...
yeah, she apparently, like, writes to Anna and leaves notes to her still. Just like I miss you, and...
Because that was a softer look at Marlene than we've had before, for sure. That scene where she's like, I don't want to kill you. I can't care for the kid, like, all that stuff. None of that is the, like, commanding, dominant leader of a terrorist cell that we, like, know
the
from
girl boss
earlier.
That we know and love.
But yeah, I thought that was a cool, like, and that she's got this direct connection. Then Ellie's not necessarily like a daughter, but not entirely like different either. Yeah, exactly.
Like a little bit like a niece.
It's like your best friend's kid, but your best friend said keep her safe, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of like a godparent or whatever, I think.
Dude, the switchblade being Anna's, giving it to Ellie.
That was,
oh man,
yeah,
so fitting. I don't know if that was referenced in the game.
It's referenced in the game that the blade was hers, and that Marlene
is it?
Yeah, that's in the game. I remember that from the game.
I must have missed that, but yeah.
So we don't see that knife before here, though, right? Like, that's not the same knife that she has in the beginning of the episode, or like in the beginning of the story, is it?
It is
different
to
me. Oh, is it? Okay.
It is.
I don't know why I thought it looked like a different knife to me. Okay, that makes more sense, obviously.
It definitely is. Definitely is.
Okay, that's cool then, because I was going to say that actually would have been a concern then, because we'd lose that connection. Like, Ellie wouldn't then know where that knife came from or what the story is if it just came out of Marlene's pocket there at the end. Okay, that's not. That makes sense.
Like, hey kid, is your dead mom's switchblade?
Right, like, that doesn't. But Joel doesn't know that,
right?
Like,
Joel
or
doesn't
necessarily.
Know that.
He just gets it from Marlene's. Like, Marlene's like, give this down. So that whole story would have been lost then. That was one of the things I was going to bring up, which was I just didn't recognize the knife, I guess.
When she goes into the house, she says, "It's me," like she expects someone to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's there.
Yeah.
And that got me wondering, like, who was she expecting to be there?
There's a firefly emblem on one of the silos in one of the wide shots of the farmhouse. It was like the second watch through or something that I saw. But yeah, I think that it must have been like, Marlene was talking about being held up wherever. I'm guessing, like I was saying, it's like a headquarters or a safe house or something to that effect. But it seemed like they were in a group then, Marlene and, Ellie's mom.
I guess that would make sense if she was, like, expecting Marlene to be there in her group, right, and then they show up. That would make sense. The other thing, which I don't know if Aiden noticed, the farmhouse is the same as the one from the second game.
Yeah.
Which had me scratching my head a little bit.
Yes.
I'm like, what? Why? What? Why did you do this?
I noticed that too, and I was like, that makes no sense.
No!
And then I remembered, and I was like, no, stop reminding me of that. No, stop.
Definitely being spelled. I got through the last one. Nobody had to spell around me. It was great.
Okay. It's sad, okay? Spoiler alert. It's sad.
I just don't... There's a farmhouse in the second game, and I'm just like, why is it here in the first? I don't...
Oh, weird.
Do they just randomly come across... Is Ellie gonna randomly find a farmhouse, and it's gonna be where her mom gave birth to her, and she has no idea? Is that what's gonna happen? Like, I don't understand.
It is a weird thing to, to link without anything happening there. Something else would have to happen.
I mean, they must have ideas for it, right, but I was just like, why? I don't...
Maybe it's just an Easter egg.
But
it's weird.
Are they going to build a completely different farmhouse for the next game?
I don't know.
Why would you do that?
Need a new farmhouse. You just shoot it from the other side. No one will ever know.
No,
I guess that defeats the purpose then, though. If you want it to be the same farmhouse.
You mirror the image. Boom. Different farmhouse.
Now I'm wondering if Ellie's going to find a farmhouse and there's going to be a firefly emblem on the side that wasn't there in the second game, but there is now. And I'm just, and just going to be like, all right, that's okay.
Cool, I guess. I thought it was kind of interesting that she right out of the gate there, it starts with a lie too, is she's saying that she cut the cord before she was bit or whatever. But that's, we saw that was not the case.
Right.
Yeah.
It did make me wonder sort of what exactly the cure mechanism is here. What is it that happened? I don't know. Yeah. I was just wondering.
Marlene says she has some kind of receptor in her because the cordyceps was with her since birth. The infection views her as already being cordyceps and doesn't try to take her over or something like that.
That brings up something for me. On one hand, it's really cool that we got some little scientific explanation.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I kind of like the idea that even though she did get lucky, but I kind of like the idea of just literally being Ellie just got super duper duper lucky.
She just happened. There's no explanation. She just happened to be the 0.0001% that is immune.
Yeah.
I feel like that's similar in my mind, I guess. But you don't know.
Yeah.
There's no way Marlene doesn't know then.
It's still a theory, yeah.
I guess. But maybe she doesn't until later on and they meet up at the mall anyway. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One other vibe that I'm glad they kept is that around this point, once they get closer to the hospital, Joel is becoming more cheery and opening dialogue with her, and Ellie is uncharacteristically quiet, which is exactly how it was in the game. And I remember, I love the Boyardee joke. I remember the part where they have Joel, where Joel boosts Ellie up. So in the game, you'd have he would boost her up all the time, right? And in the game, when she's like that, you see Joel like, oh, come on, Ellie, let me give you a boost. And he does it, and does the same animation. But after a few seconds, she doesn't arrive, and the camera turns around to Ellie sitting, and I can't help but think, like, that is such a great kind of, like, diversion, or whatever, not diversion, but, like, playing on expectations, because she'd boost him all the time, and I don't know, it was just really cool way to convey that something was wrong with her at the moment.
They build it into the game mechanic, like, I think you even press the button, like, let's go, and then nothing happens.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great way to, because you don't have the long shots of, like Ellie just standing there with the 1,000-yard stare or whatever. It would seem like then in the game. So it's a really great way to punctuate that point. I was going to say, I thought it was really cool how they showed her clearly being affected by, the events of the last episode, essentially, but sort of all of this finally building to the breaking point, sort of, with her, it feels like. It's just like, she's, all of this is fine. It's finally getting close to the point where she can be done with it, and, like, it's overwhelming, I think, or something to that effect.
And then she sees something totally magnificent that snaps her out of it. Guys, can we talk about the giraffe?
So
the real giraffe.
The real giraffe.
By the way. Uh-huh. Oh my god. That's incredible.
Me and my friend were convinced that was CGI.
Me too.
We were convinced that was CGI.
From what I've heard, they had a guy on set with a CG giraffe hat on too, so there could have been some
they might have blended it. They might have blended it.
Or certain shots where they'd used one versus the other, but
apparently it was a mix of both. But there definitely are, most of the scenes are the real giraffe. I pulled up his name. I guess I didn't because I lost it on Last of Us. Giraffe.
I was because they have giraffes that you can feed at a lot of zoos, and it seems like if it wasn't some sort of horrible, like, zombie giraffe attack, which is what I thought the first time you guys said giraffe scene.
Oh, you thought it was a giraffe?
Not gonna lie, would have loved to see that. I don't know what sound an angry giraffe makes, but
yeah.
I would
Joel
love to
and Ellie.
His name is Nabu. Apparently,
Nabu. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I have this image of Jurassic Park, but it's a giraffe, and it's Ellie and Joel just running.
If you stay still, it won't see you.
Right. God, such a beautiful, beautiful scene, just like it was in the game, and like the conversation that happens right afterwards, just mwah.
Yeah.
I loved the instant where Ellie runs away to follow the giraffe there, and Joel's like, ugh.
Yeah.
It felt like a kid at the zoo kind of thing, like it was. She was just really excited running around, and Joel's got oh my god, okay, whatever. But he's kind of like, wow, she's having such a great time. This is cool. Like, it was a very cute scene, I guess. I don't know.
The whole scenery around them felt like complete copy, 1-to-1 copy from the game. That was really amazing to just be like, it was just picture perfect. It was really amazing.
Oh, so good.
I do want to say, in the second game, it's not really in the first game, but in the second game, they start washing things in red when you enter a room and something bad is in there. They start washing it with red, and Joel and Ellie get into this place right before they see the giraffe, and they've got all this like construction or whatever.
Oh.
And the light comes through the scaffolding and I don't know what it's called, the sheeting that they have, and it bathes the whole scene in red, and I'm sitting there going, why are you doing this? Like,
that's cool.
I nobody the only people who are going to get this reference are the people who've played the second game. And I know what's going to happen. I know everything's fine. You're giving me unnecessary anxiety.
Yes. Absolutely.
Why?
Expertly done. Man, the ability to just, recognize and manipulate that kind of stuff. That's,
maybe that was their point, because if you haven't seen, I guess if you don't know what's going to happen,
right.
Like, it is anxiety inducing because you're like, Ellie's running off by herself alone. What's going on? And I guess maybe they did that on purpose so that people who knew would just be like, ah!
Oh shit. Wait, what? Yeah.
Oh shit. We're like, oh god.
I was immediately just like, red is bad. Why?
That's funny. I'd be curious to find whether or not that was an intentional thing. If they did that to keep
it was
folks who knew what was coming on their toes. It seems like they work pretty hard to do that regularly, so I wouldn't be shocked.
I was very mad about it.
I approve of that kind of manipulation of your audience. That's grade A work in my mind.
You hear it here, folks. Erik approves of manipulation.
That's right. Yes. Good.
Proofs
good
of
faith.
Unnecessary anxiety.
Gaslight your audience.
Do it well and do it often.
I love the conversation after with Giraffe, because isn't the game where Joel is like, I imagine he's feeling the same thing too. He's like, listen, we can just go home.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he means well. But I love kind of Ellie's response, and he's like, do you know what we did last episode? What I did last episode to get here? It's like you said, it can't be for nothing. And then I love that. Then after that, you do whatever the heck you want to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like quitting right at the end. Like, come on, Joel.
That was the thing. Joel says, like, something about there's always been something bad at the end. He's like, there could be a good ending, but for us, it's always been bad. We could just bail out. Like, I feel like that was him, like, asking her for the, like, permission basically to give up and to just go back to Jackson and not worry about any of it. Because he didn't think the risk was worth it, that what he had now was worth, giving up whatever potential future they could get by following this through. So I thought that was like a really well executed scene as well. It's just another. Ellie's like, no, like, how many people have died?
Right.
It can't be for nothing.
Right.
Like you were saying.
And there's stuff I want to touch on kind of later, but like Joel is kind of offering her the chance to like go back to Jackson and live a life. And I don't know that Ellie has really experienced what living life is.
Mm-hmm. She really hasn't.
So when he's offering that to her, I don't know if she can really conceive of what that offer is.
Mm-hmm.
I'd agree. I also think that it's more because Joel has realized that's something that he wants now,
right?
And will be satisfied with than anything to do with Ellie, really.
Right.
Not only that, just like with Ellie, like you said, I mean, when they're in the army camp and Ellie brings up Sarah, he doesn't flinch. It's like, now that he has Ellie, he's finally able to make peace with Sarah, so he can just like talk about her and not look like he's about to kill somebody or cry.
Yeah,
right.
He can like openly talk about that thing that was a very sensitive topic before.
I mean, he literally talks about how, like, the guy who missed was me. Like, I tried to shoot myself, and I was ready. And Ellie talked about how, time heals all wounds, right? And then the look Joel gives to her, and he's like, time didn't do it. And I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God, Joel.
Anything.
Yeah, no, that saying is a crap saying. I don't know where it came from, but it's wrong.
It's dumb,
right.
But I also think that he means well, but that's so much pressure to put on a child. Like, you're the only reason that I get up in the morning is like,
It
comes
is.
from a place of love, but it's also this like unfair responsibility to put on
Which
a
is
kid,
which
I
is
think.
something that all parents do. I mean, like them, like like for example, I've had like at least a lot of
I'm not
parents
sure
do.
it's that
I
explicit,
should say.
right? Like, no, I literally like tried to end my life, and up until very recently, it seemed like a failure that I didn't succeed in that. And I don't know. To me, there's something a little bit different about what he's doing, to me anyway. I don't know. It hit weird. That whole scene was, the whole lead up actually to getting to the hospital is this like he's trying to be almost overly encouraging and happy, and I don't know. It just all got weird.
Yeah. I can get that for sure, where I was this big grumpy guy and like you healed me, and that's all they have is each other.
Yeah.
So I
think that can come from a good place and not be the thing that I'm saying it is either. But it does. Yeah, I don't know. Ellie's already got this like survivor's guilt thing to deal with.
Yeah, I guess my point was more of just like, definitely like from my dad, I've heard stuff from them where, he tells me, like, of course, son, everything I do is for you and your siblings and all that stuff. Like, I imagine as a parent, that feeling is very strong.
That's true too.
Definitely with Joel, like we've talked about before, Joel has codependency issues. And
definitely.
And the way he the way he dealt with the loss of Sarah is just he found a new daughter, and he now lasted on to her. And that is a lot. That is like a lot. It is a sweet thing to say, but it is like a lot of pressure for a kid. But I mean, that's kind of what I see. Like, maybe it's just me, but it's a lot of things that parents sometimes do with their children occasionally, whether they mean to or not,
Right.
No,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was saying I can see both sides of that for sure.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't verbalizing it as well, but Liara, I think you nailed it with the like trying to really point out that it's not from a place of maliciousness in Joel necessarily. It's just it's really sad, but it seems like basically Joel's broken in such a way that he really can't love in a way that isn't harmful to the person that he loves now, kind of. I think that's like sort of the conclusion of this episode is what we see, that him making that commitment is not good for the person that he's committing to generally.
I did get like a slight twinge of like with, David is like, I see you as a wife and as my possession, and you're going like, you're an object to me. And I got like, it's not the same with Joel, but I did get a sense of like Joel needs her, and her wishes in that moment aren't important.
Absolutely.
Like Ellie doesn't want to be with David. Ellie doesn't want to be in this cult. And David's like, you are gonna do what I need you to do. And Joel's like, it really doesn't matter what her wishes were. It's just, I need you to be alive.
Yeah, he can't bear the loss again, kind of thing. So there's no choice for him to make. Yeah,
it's like Joel goes, I cannot do this again. And that's what it's about. And it's sad.
I guess at that point, do you want to talk about the elephant in the room and Joel's decision at this episode?
We're jumping ahead, but yeah.
I mean, we're already kind of there-ish.
I was gonna say we're leading right up into it.
I don't mind running into it and backtracking.
I was gonna say, so sort of more directly leaning from the conversation. I guess what Ellie wants in this matter. That to me, it seems like that was not a point of conversation really with anyone at the Firefly place. There was, like they were lying to Ellie about what was happening there, what her fate was going to be, and Joel's had no concern about that really either. He didn't ask what did she want, what was her thoughts on the matter. So that was Yeah.
So just like Joel can't handle Ellie telling him this is what I want, the Fireflies cannot handle the chance that Ellie tells them, no, I don't want this. They
Okay.
They cannot accept that.
Because then they'd still do it.
That's my theory. Or they would have to wrestle with that of like, do we kill this girl even though she said no? And I think that's something that they just can't afford to. So they're just like, we didn't tell her anything. We put her under and I'm quite certain that that's what that is.
That is the worst part of all of this in my mind. Joel's response is almost understandable when you hear, like, given that Ellie doesn't know what's happening, that she hasn't said, yes, I'm here to do this and I want to. We know that probably generally speaking, she would likely, be willing to give up, whatever was required to see this to the end, but nobody bothered to ask. And
and besides, there was like no guarantee that it could have actually worked.
No.
I think that is an interesting question too, is like, regardless, like, are there any circumstances where it's acceptable to like end Ellie's life in order to produce a cure, whether or not she knows, whether or not Joel's involved, whether or not, is it okay? Doesn't that make Firefly just like Fedra, with the kid in the first episode or whatever, where they're telling him, it's going to be great. You're going to have all these great toys. And then, that's clearly not what happens.
Right.
It feels similar anyway, I guess, at some point.
Yeah.
No, it's...
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. It's almost, because it's almost like, they didn't give this girl any choice. So at face value, any person would be like, yeah, you're robbing this child. So in a way, you want to side with Joel. And then Joel goes on this like fucking rampage, and you're almost like, oh no, that guy surrendered. Oh no, Joel, buddy.
Yeah, I was shocked because I did not expect that we would get Joel as a one-man army. Like,
oh, it was great.
We haven't gotten that the entire series, and so I thought they were gonna, like, Joel might kill a couple guys or something. I'm like, they've established that he's not as young as he used to be, and the guy's got some trauma. I'm like, this is gonna end differently. Like, it's gonna be different, and then it was not different, and I think that kind of made it better in a way. Like, we haven't seen... Yeah,
because we never...
Right.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Right. We haven't seen it, and now it's here, and he is so calm and so focused, and it was
Joel turns to the fucking Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
The calm, cold, no, like, almost passive, look on his face. Just, that was cool. That was a awesome scene, or sequence of scenes, I guess.
There's no panic attack. Like, I thought they would bring in that like high-pitched whistling that we've been getting with Joel when it's been, fight or flight mode, and we didn't get that either, and I was just like, oh god!
Mournful music, like, kind of like almost sad. It was just like, oh no,
it's the viewer, it's almost like conveying to the audience, sure, what this guy's doing is protecting his daughter, but there's also a good chance he's probably dooming humanity right now.
That is the thing. It's hunting through the steakhouse while it's on fire. I felt like the lead up from the previous episode to this episode, that was like just really great for the like meta structure or whatever of the story. They give you the comparison to what Joel's about, the decision or the path Joel's about to start heading down, I guess. Maybe not, it's not equivalent, but it, like you were saying earlier, Liara, it's that same kind of possessive vein of protector role rather than, I don't know, just being a defender.
Yeah. I had a thought and it's gone now. Shoot.
Oh, sorry.
No, it wasn't you.
Liara, you definitely, did you end up rewatching the scene where Joel is going to shoot that person who's running away and then he gets stopped?
No, I have watched so many times. People are like, you can see that person, and I have watched it so many times and I can't find it. So someone give me a timestamp, please, about where it is, because I don't know what you're talking about.
I will tell you, because I'm looking at it right now. 33:15.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you see a person running away, and for a split second, you see a braid, and which
sorry,
people might think is a reference to a character in part 2.
That is a reach.
No.
I say that as someone who's a big. Okay, no, maybe it's not. It's a distinctive braid, apparently.
So. Well. Yeah.
I don't know. I make a lot of more hazardous connections than that.
On that note, I will say that Laura Bailey, who plays a important character in the second game, is one of the nurses.
She is.
What?
I do that.
Really?
Or sounds familiar.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Wild.
I missed it. Yeah.
Seriously, they got it's this thing. It's the critical role thing. If one of them's in a product, there's a good chance 3 of them, like 2 or 3 more of them are. They're always in the same stuff.
Well, you could tell me Matt
Mercer's
Mercer's in like any, that he voice acted in any video game, and I'd believe you because he's in half of them. So,
but the only reason is because they're literally in so many games.
Yeah,
there's so many. Speaking of that segment. Hey Eric, you know how the camera does a close up on the surgeon that Joel killed? Make a mental note of that. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay. I think that surgeon's a bad person. By the way, also he should not have been comfortable operating on a patient without their knowledge or consent. That's
in the game
unacceptable.
That's brought up in the second game. I'll just say that. It is brought up. It is addressed.
One thing that I noticed is so in the game he says, "This is our future. Think of the lives that we could save." And I noticed, and they didn't do that in the show, but I like to think he was about to say that, and then Joel tapped him.
Yeah, I was gonna say he didn't get a chance to say much. Like, I won't let you, and then bop.
Oh, bang.
Which, that was good. Oh man, way to punctuate. Like, I'm dead ass serious, folks.
Bam.
I'm sorry. Like, this surgery isn't happening.
That definitely made me jump, because in the game, of course, you're controlling Joel, and it's this like you've massacred the hospital. You walk down this quiet hallway, pretty much like in the show, and then you enter this operating room, and this guy picks up a scalpel, and you're like, I have a gun, and there's a moment of like, really? Like, at least for me, I'm like, are we really doing this? And the game will not let you proceed unless you shoot the doctor.
See, I didn't shoot him or stab him. I set him on fire. So pretty accurate.
God!
Work around the system. Yeah, you just got to be creative.
No, there's literally compilations of YouTube on people, like, all the ways you can kill them. There's like people throw explosives at him. They like shoot him in the kneecap.
Yeah, if you shoot him in the kneecap, he falls over just like you shot him in the head, which is really funny, actually.
Yeah. Also, the most effed up thing is you can shoot the nurses that are helping him too.
I thought Joel was about to when he had him turn around. Honestly, I was like, "Oh God, no, please!" Like, it was bad enough. We got the one and a very good close up of his, seeping bullet wound in his forehead. There,
I think that was both an Easter egg, because in the game it's a choice whether or not to shoot them. But I also think, like, everybody else that Joel shoots in that scene pointed a gun at him at one point in time, and I think the doctor picked up a scalpel, and these nurses are the only ones that haven't been aggressive. So I think you can kind of make an argument there for like why he let them live, because they didn't pose a threat at all, I don't think. But yeah, I do think it's primarily an Easter egg of like, you can let these people live if you want. You don't have to kill everybody.
Literally everyone.
I will say, in Grounded, I ran around most of the fireflies.
Oh yeah, you're able to.
I couldn't. Well, here's the thing, though. They get automatic rifles in that part.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fuck with that shit, bro. I'm not that good.
Joel manages just fine in the TV show. He seems to be working.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the Mandalorian, okay?
Yeah, he just calm walks right through that. It is way harder in the video game.
He's like not taking cover much or anything. He's really just like walking through the hallways, like
John Wick mode.
Yeah. It definitely, it was that was an unsettling scene to watch. But then the shift in tone when he gets up to the pediatric floor, and like suddenly he's like a dad going to check on his kid in a surgery suite.
I didn't connect that.
Oh man, yeah, that was, that's hard to watch. So I've had family members and so on. That walk, particularly, I would imagine for parents who've had kids in the NICU or generally just sick kids. That's probably a walk that a lot of people going by all those happy painted walls and everything, and then I don't know. It's just you don't know what's happening. I don't know. Good scene, well put together.
Absolutely, yeah. Man, and then, man, I'm just thinking about it again. So when he gets to Marlene in the parking lot, from that onward, it's pretty much like word for word from the. I almost forgot when Marlene's like, "You can still walk away," and like the camera, the perspective change to the car. I forgot. Like, oh wow, they really make you think like, oh, did he just leave right then and there? But of course he didn't.
I found the braid.
Oh, see, told you.
I found it. I found it.
How do you feel now?
Yes.
I told you.
Yes. It's a very distinctive braid.
It's a very distinctive braid.
and they have her covered in shadow because they haven't casted her yet.
No.
That's foresight right there.
Oh my god. Okay, sorry, I interrupted whatever beautiful thing you were saying about Marlene.
No, I was talking about when they cut to the interior truck shot, to make you think like, oh shit, did Joel really just leave right then and there?
Yeah,
leave her with another gut shot wound or whatever.
Right, and then you hear Ellie in the back, and then throughout this scene, Joel tells her the lie,
right.
the big lie, that, all of a sudden, didn't work and all that stuff. And it's like the narration over him just shooting Marlene. It's like, and he's trying to come up with this lie on the spot. He probably rehearsed this the whole way. It's like, oh God, how am I going to explain this? Which in the game, it was pretty much just like they ran some tests, they couldn't figure it out, so they just let us go. But in the show, I do appreciate how they tried to say, oh yeah, there were raiders that happened to attack as soon as, we were there, so I had to get you out of there and all that, which, I mean, it seems plausible. Yeah. But, I mean, you have the look on Ellie's face, which I'll kind of touch back to once we get to the last scene with them. Mm-hmm. She has this like kind of blank expression, and she kind of turns around the seat cushion and just, very almost like, oh, it's at surface value, it's almost like weird that she doesn't have any expression, but
I think there's a couple different ways that gets explained. Like, I mean, she's coming out of anesthesia and all that junk, but I also think the like. I think at that point she's probably like concerned whether or not she believes it, that like it may or may not be entirely safe to let on that she doesn't.
Yeah.
If she doesn't, I don't know. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
When she asks if Marlene's okay, it was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh wow, she's not buying this.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. For me, anyway, that was the moment. Just
The cold-blooded you would just come after her and just shoots her. God damn.
Yeah.
And
Gets me every time.
It seems like that's the first time Joel really considered that Marlene might mean something to Ellie. Like, that, you know, like they're really, he like kind of look like as he's saying what happened with her, and we cut back, he's got this like kind of look of regret, basically, when he didn't hesitate for half a second, you know, in the instant. So,
I just realized that Marlene probably saw Ellie at the hospital, and Ellie was probably really happy to see her, which means Marlene might have lied to her face about putting her under. Oh, that just hit me.
That's Marlene's.
She probably said, "We're going to put you under, and we're going to do some tests. And then, when you wake up, etc., etc."
Yep. But I mean, coming from a place of like, there's a world in which I could understand coming to that conclusion. You do genuinely care for them, and you can't bring yourself to tell them. And again, like you were saying, what if they say no? Then what? This is literally our only hope.
Right.
So there's, I don't think that Marlene was this like cold and unfeeling, third party actor like she was sort of presented leading up to this.
I definitely think she cared, for sure.
Right.
It's just like, this is the only chance we have for humanity, and well, it's like what she was telling Joel, like, I do understand. I was there when she was born. I promised her mother I would protect her, and I don't have a choice in this. And Joel replies, I do, and it's like,
neither of them.
They're kind of neither of them feel like they have a choice. Both, they're just on opposite sides. They're like, this is what has to be done. And
neither of them are factoring like, well, what does Ellie want in at that point? That was the thing. Nobody at that. It was like, what about Ellie? Like, what is she's like this isn't like, it's not a football, but
it's not a MacGuffin. It's a kid, a person.
Right. There's like this something about how being like, as a kid, when like being a sick kid, there's like a loss of autonomy over a lot of aspects of your life, that you spend a lot of time in the control, that other people are deciding what's happening with all of that stuff. And it seemed like there's something similar here. Like if you have, I don't know. There's something about the loss of Ellie's agency in this hospital setting, and that whole connection, that there's like a through line that they're getting at, about, like parents with kids that are in the hospital. There's a whole lot of ways to read that, this situation based on that kind of interpretation, I think, anyway. It's a trip to see nobody giving a shit one way or the other, really. Ellie is just a secondary, basically, to everyone.
And coming back into kind of the overall thesis of the season, what love can make you do. I mean, Joel was doing that out of love, and he was like murdering people. Sure, they were shooting back, but I mean, he killed a disarmed guy.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of that is like the "you'll just come after her" kind of thing. Like the guy put his gun down, but I think in Joel's mind, it's like,
as soon as I turn around, he would shot me.
Yeah, exactly. as soon as I turn around, you're gonna pick that back up and shoot me. Whether or not that would have happened, who knows? But
there's no room for that risk in Joel's mind because of the stakes of losing Ellie. It seems like, and that's,
I have to get to her, and you are a potential obstacle in that way. So I will eliminate you, and then I don't need to worry about it. Yeah.
it's interesting to see like news articles kind of pick up talk about the debate about whether Joel was right. It's so funny seeing this
I
debate
loved
being
that.
had 10 years later.
Joel was right. Joel was wrong. I'm like, oh look, there it is again.
Right, there it is again. It's like Back to the Future. Hey, I've seen this one.
Well, I loved watching even the people that were like on Joel's side, and then watching him just like slaughter everybody in the hospital and watching their facial expressions just be like,
The one thing I was kind of sad about, we didn't get that iconic walk of the hallway to the surgery room.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I wanted that. I was really surprised that like there's in the game that walk down the hallway is very particular, and it comes up again and again, and it's like, and they changed it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be like really ominous.
Yeah.
That scene hit well for me, but that's a surprise then, though.
They just decided. I mean, I assume they had a good reason for it because they've had a good reason for everything. So, but it was, I was expecting that imagery, and that was not what we got.
Right, absolutely. Which is all right. They could always do it again.
Yeah, like I said, it's fine. But it was just like, you guys have been so on point with everything. I was just surprised. Yeah.
If there's anything else about the hospital stuff, I wanted to ask Erik a question, but it was after the hospital scene, so.
You guys, I assume everybody noticed Joel using Ellie's knife when he ran out of ammo to kill somebody.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, pretty fucked up.
That was rough.
There was one bit. The first time Joel stops, he's kind of like looking at the directory for the floors. So like where the guy's like leading him at gunpoint, he's like he's like checking to see which floor he needs to go to get to the pediatrics suite. And so, I don't know, it was like a little thing, but it's that first time that he stops walking and they push him on and go down to the staircase.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's like a little minor, but I'm pretty sure that it is like, that's like the timing. So I was like, he was already planning on that. That was happening. The gears were turning.
One thing I will say, the quick fire kind of like interrogation thing in the game, he just gets one guy, and the way he gets the toxin, I'm pretty sure he blows out one of his kidneys. It's pretty fucking graphic.
Cool.
But
cool.
It's pretty. This whole shit's pretty violent, man. This is just like Joel at his worst / best.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I did appreciate Eric's not sure. I did it, that dramatic music that's happening while that sad stuff that while Joel's slaughtering everybody. In the game, that, and it totally makes sense because you're in a combat sequence in the game, and combat sequences have have a specific music type when you're killing everybody. So the dramatic sad stuff happens after Joel has picked Ellie up and is running down the hall because he can't shoot anymore and people are shooting at him, and you have this long dramatic.
Yeah, and they don't want to shoot Ellie because they're afraid of killing Kira, basically.
Yeah, and so that's when the dramatic music happens. So I was really, and that part always tears me up. And then they put it on top of him slaughtering everybody, and I was like, oh, that was smart. Like that was that was
really cool.
That was a good choice.
Ugh. Because it's this. Man, they've been setting Joel up for this fall the entire time. Every step of the way, we've been building him up and seeing him as this, like, he's learning to love more. He's getting more attached. He's able to open himself up more. And it just, also opens this floodgate of violence that comes with. And it's, God. Sad.
I love how much it echoes the first episode where the guard, for the Fedra guard, that Joel just like pummels to death with his fist because he had a flashback to Sarah. Like, that part isn't in the game, but it's such a perfect mirror for the final episode of like, this is what Joel is capable of when you because of these attachments that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the final episode is that times like 200.
No, absolutely.
That like violent or well, so like Tommy talks about love way in the beginning, the very first episode. He's coming in to get like eggs or whatever, and he says something about or love is depending on having people depend on you or need you or something to that effect. And Joel like fights him on that, but. Yeah, I don't know. There's something to that, I think. And there's a connection with people needing you and the need for violence, I think, to like deal with the way that they, usually that's how people need each other in a lot of ways. And it's not always only in violent contexts, but.
Yeah, so Sarah says, "Oh, he loves you." Joel says, "He depends on me." And Tommy says, "It's the same thing."
Yeah. That it's
That's
like
what it is.
Gets and then Ellie seeing him beat the crap out of the guard. That's like I don't know, that's caring for people, talk about how that's like showing love in her eyes. And so Joel's clearly also in a place where protecting the people you love and violence are universally the same thing pretty much. It seems like.
Especially in this world, that's what you gotta do.
Right.
You gotta,
Yeah. See, Ugh. So sad. The conclusion that, it's Joel's too broken to work properly in,
to
in
compartmentalize
relationships with others.
Properly.
Yeah, it's just that's rough, man. It was a hard ending.
Erik.
Yeah.
This is a very important question. I'm serious.
Oh no.
How do you interpret Ellie's okay at the end?
Oh, what do you like? How do I interpret it as like? Do I think she believes him or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you interpret the okay?
I feel like she's. I'm not sure. That she actually believes him, but I do think that like it's one of those okays where if that's what you're saying and you're seriously going to tell me that, I'm not going to fight you on it. But like, I don't have any good reason to doubt what you're saying, but I still do kind of, I guess. I don't think she believes him is the short answer.
Not fully, at least.
Yeah. I think she's not in a place where she wants to challenge that, and maybe she won't admit quite even to herself yet that she doesn't. But just like looking at her face and all that stuff, it clearly seems like she's that. Yet even asking that question is means that there's an issue there. She doesn't necessarily believe the story as it was told to her. So I don't think it matters so much what Joel says in response. She's already kind of convinced he lied to her.
Absolutely. How would you interpret that, Leora? I know coming from the game again.
I like the first time I watched it. The first time I played the game, I was definitely on the fence. Like, not sure if she believes him or if she doesn't. But like consecutive playthroughs, I'm like, she's kind of so. There's a line that David says in the show to her when she's in the cage that if you can't find a way to trust me, then you are alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of what Ellie, she's looking at Joel, and I think she has her suspicions. But if Joel's lying to her, if she's up there and she doesn't accept it, then she's alone. And she can't go to Jackson. Like, what is she going to do? Like, she's going to go to the road and start walking? Like, I think at that point for her, it's just a matter of I have to accept this. Even if I have my doubts. Like, I have no choice but to trust you at this point.
Yeah, I interpret kind of similar to that, and also as like with the way Ellie has spoken to and talked about Joel, I almost think that she thinks that a part of her knows, her intuition says this is shady, but she trusts and loves Joel so much that she wants to believe that what he said is true. So she says, okay, mostly because of like, I hope to God that Joel is not lying to me.
Yeah, I could see that
Because
too.
if he is, like, that's, I mean, he's the person she trusts the most.
Right.
So that would be the ultimate betrayal.
She wants to believe him. She doesn't want to believe that he's betrayed her.
Yeah.
And she just has to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm. And Erik, how'd you feel about the okay and fade to credits?
Oh man. Oh god, the end was so good. I was so bowling ball
the mic drop
balls to end with this. I love the way this story ends. It's so good. No, you don't get a happy ending. Like, no. Absolutely not. The guy you thought was a hero the whole time, asshole. Total shitlord. Should not like it. Like, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, I felt so crappy. It was glorious.
Absolutely.
The game ends the same way, and I remember playing the game for the first time and just being I don't even know how to explain it. It just ends, and you're just like,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
What did I just do?
Wow, that's it. Yes. I don't know. Yeah, that was chef's kiss.
That's the end.
Glorious. Wow, man. And like you guys were talking about, they're replaying the same argument that was had and assuming that they are repeating the same debate about what Joel should have done, what, shouldn't have done, all this stuff. Like,
yeah,
that's just such a well-constructed conflict then. If everyone can still rehash the same conversation.
Yeah.
And still come up with, no conclusive answers, basically. That's just, it's such a good story. So good.
Yeah.
It was great up to this point. It's fantastic with the ending. Like, man.
Yeah, there's a reason why The Last of Us is considered, like, one of the best story-driven games of, like, one of the best games of all time.
Yeah.
Ugh. So.
Wonderful story.
Oh, Bella Ramsey's facial expressions, the 20 different facial expressions she goes through before saying okay, is amazing. I just want to point that out. Appreciation. Because
he's so good. For the little stuff, the subtle nonverbal acting,
subtle stuff. Yeah. Everyone is fantastic.
The beginning too, where she was just off in her own world, that was so expertly executed as well. Conveyed that whole sense really effectively. She's good. She's gonna be a really good. I imagine she's gonna have a hugely prolific career here.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Pedro Pascal, top of the fucking world right now.
Right, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, that's got to be a trip.
Literally in everything. He's like, oh boy, too bad. It would be crazy if I had another show that was the most popular thing in the entire world, in which I'm a stoic dad protecting a naive child, but important child. Oh boy, this one's just green and eats babies.
Would Mando massacre a hospital to save Grogu?
I can't answer that
yes.
question.
Yes, he would. I mean,
I don't know.
He would.
Okay. He would. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, Pedro Pascal said that Grogu and Ellie would be best friends.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, could you imagine Ellie being, oh my god, look at this little guy. Look at him.
That was pretty good.
She'd put him in her backpack, and that would be his home.
Right?
Looks like a hairless gremlin. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Mandalorian. I mean, he's a bounty hunter, man. He'll fuck your shit up.
Erik.
Yes.
I need you. I'm going to throw you into the fire here. Was Joel right or was Joel wrong?
Oh, Joel's wrong. Yeah. That's easy. Come on, people. He murdered so many people. That's not acceptable. You can't do that. I mean, Marlene was wrong for not telling Ellie what's really going on, but she actually, like, you know, there's some for the greater good justification there, I think. And the own, like, whether or not Ellie says yes, that's the only way to make the cure. I think that's probably unacceptable too, but I don't think that even if you take away the greater good thing, they're talking about killing one person. Joel just killed dozens. It doesn't.
Yeah, even from a utilitarian
it's not
approach,
okay.
It's like, you know.
And even on an individual level, he didn't do what Ellie would have wanted. He did what was best for him. And I guess that's what I key on the most. That makes me feel like what he did was just empirically wrong. Was that it wasn't about Ellie.
Right.
It wasn't about the world. He didn't want to
lose another daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy because he could go back to Jackson with Tommy and Maria. I mean, he's going to be an uncle.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't stand not having a daughter.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, like going through that same loss again, you know, you actually make it to the goddamn place. You actually get to the goal. You actually accomplish all of the primary objectives. And, you know, in order to do that, she has to die. I think that there's room to stop acting rationally there, I guess. It makes sense, but it's just, I don't think that's the right thing to do still. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
In terms of not following Ellie's wishes, because I think we're all in agreement that is, like, if they had asked her, she would have wanted them to do it. Or at least I'm pretty darn confident that's what she would have wanted.
I imagine she would have thought of Riley, of Tess,
of Sam. Yeah.
And she's like, if those people never have to go through that again, if I have to die, so be it.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I also think, you know, if there'd been a cure, those people would have lived. And, you know, she can't not, like, being able to be that cure for people like that to live. Like, I think that's important to her. I do think there's a level of survivor's guilt on her part that maybe could deserve some, like, analysis by a therapist of, like, how much of this is guilt.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I question that a little bit, but I think ultimately, like, it is what she wants. So in terms of Joel doing what he wants to do, and not taking Ellie's wishes into concern, I have Joel's wrong on that. On the other end, like, I was watching reaction videos of people who were like, if that was my kid and they're like, we are taking your kid to make the cure, I'd be like, fuck no. Like,
let it burn.
So
no, that's
Oh. On that end, I'm willing to like cheer him on to be like, this is like, you're not taking, this is my daughter and you're not taking her from me. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of like, I'm kind of on both sides.
Yeah, no, I think that's the other thing too. Is, it what Joel did can be wrong, and
it can be
the
right.
rest of it can be wrong too. Yeah, and also it can be totally not saying I agree with it, but I understand.
Right? I
get it. I do. I really, really get it. But
there's I don't know if it's Dave Chappelle. Or if there's...
It's Chris Rock is who I was getting at there. Yeah. He's talking about OJ.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I would have killed a man, but I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the...
Pretty much.
Yeah. My husband and I quote that all the time. I understand.
Yes. So I think that there's part of it that is... there's like a reasonable... question to ask, which is it even fair to pose that question to Ellie, like you're saying, as far as survivor's guilt and all that stuff? Like, it's not, no one would be able to make that choice without feeling like they're being coerced. Like, it's your life versus literally the future of humanity. Right. Like, that's not fair. So there's something to that as well, but I mean, nothing in this show is about fairness. So,
Right. Yeah.
It just, yeah.
There is a line that she gives in the game that she doesn't give in the show where she's telling Joel, first it was Riley and then it was Tess and then it was Sam. And what she says in the game is, I'm still waiting for my turn.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that really gnaws at me.
Yeah.
Of like, in Ellie's mind, she keeps thinking, I'm not supposed to be alive. And like, that in some part of her motivation to like be the cure for humanity, she has a thought process of, well, I'm not supposed to be alive anyway.
That's gonna cost my life or whatever.
And so like she kind of views her life as no longer having value to begin with because it was supposed to be gone. I don't know. I wonder about that.
That's something that I was kind of wondering throughout the series. It's more of like a broader strokes question here, but is this within the world of The Last of Us? Is it a good thing to die for what you believe in?
I don't know that we've really I think what we've seen is that people can get into obsessions about, that will drive them to no ends and that those obsessions are bad. And the dying for what you believe in seems to be like more of a noble concept, and these people who are kind of ready to go to all ends for what they believe in are usually painted as, this is kind of unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you can make direct parallels to those, but I think that's the best that we got.
No, absolutely. I agree as well.
Okay. I would say that I think that holds up with, you got like Kathleen and David and trying to think. There's other examples I'm probably not thinking of where I think that definitely does hold up. But then you look at like Tess or Bill and Frank.
Yeah.
Or even I think you could argue Riley, that like she's saying you don't give up that you don't give up that chance for success there, that could be arguing in favor of what Joel does. That, for whatever cost, it isn't worth it to give up the person that you love or whatever.
And he's giving Ellie a chance to actually have a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just, I was wondering if you guys had strong feelings one way or the other with that.
I think there's a lot of duality, honestly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of duality.
There's not really one answer. Like, it's kind of meant for you to chew on it and argue about it,
right.
But there's no consensus.
That's 100. That was totally my vibe, is that, man, this is just, it's like a bunch of like Aesop's Fable style, like just moral dilemma, kind of like
right.
Think about it and like, what would you do? Which do you think is right? And positing very few like morals for the story that you're supposed to believe, other than like be concerned about what love can bring you to do. Like like watch yourself on that shit, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was an interesting theme.
I think definitely in the context, which I won't spoil, definitely in the context of the second game, kind of talking about this as well. Just like seeing, I remember I used to be in the Joel was right crowd for a while, but especially after playing part 2 and just, watching this and playing the remake again, I just can't help but think like, yeah, sure, I can't entirely blame Joel, but I mean, perpetuating this like circle of violence to protect his kid, I mean, it's gonna bite him in the ass sooner or later.
That is a really interesting way of phrasing it. So that idea of, Joel deciding he can keep his kids safe at the cost of the safety of all the other kids in the world. There's a reading of that applies to us societally, like at large, in the same ways that they talk about a lot of other broader societal issues. I think there's something really interesting there too.
That's cool. Like with Sam and Henry. Like Henry turned in Kathleen's brother to keep Sam alive. And it's
Yes.
why is the person important to you more important than anybody else in the world?
Yeah, who gets to decide?
Yeah.
And like what amount of violence is acceptable to protect, or I guess, get justice for, in some senses anyway. At least we spend a lot of time talking about people who are out for, like, kind of trying to deal with the baggage from past deaths too, with like Joel and, again, Kathleen. I think actually most people, they're all scarred by the violence of the world they live in. I guess every one of them have lost people close to them regularly, but
Yeah,
it's just oh man,
it's such a telling thing that 10 years later it's reignited this debate, and that's how you can tell when a piece of art kind of becomes immortal in a sense. I mean, I imagine 20, 30 years from now, people will be talking about this film.
there's never going to be an easy answer to this
No.
question, or the answer's never going to get any easier to arrive at, I guess, whichever way you lean.
There's always going to be a debate about it.
Yeah, 100 years from now, the debate's the same too. I mean,
Yeah.
It doesn't change.
Right.
That's, like you were saying, that's something about like a classic, or a truly like a masterpiece of art, I think, in my mind. What
Yeah.
puts it up into that top tier of really just excellent work. In 9 episodes, they told more story than we see in
Oh my
seasons and seasons of a lot of sitcoms and whatnot, I suppose.
So overall, what did you guys think of this first season?
I mean, I thought it was great. I'm nervous about season 2 for reasons that Aiden understands.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay.
I've heard some contention about like where that, it's like fucking calling him Neil Cuckman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This
There's
Christ.
a whole
Yeah.
series of people who don't get media literacy, but that's fine. That's the way
Yeah.
it goes, I guess.
You know what's funny? Neil Druckmann was asked about the controversy, and he said, "I don't care."
Well,
Damn straight.
yeah. I mean, he put that out. He put that out there. Be proud of your work.
That's, I think, at the end of the day, you're people talking about it and having contentious, meaningful, discussions about it. That's the goal.
Yes, the goal. Yeah.
But that shit, I think that's the consequence of putting out like a popular piece of media.
Absolutely. So, I think that this was an absolutely beautiful adaptation of probably one of the best stories ever made.
Yeah.
It really tug at the heartstrings, and it really is a beautiful story about love. But Joel never threw a brick at anybody, so 0 out of 10.
It's 0 bricks out of 10.
Yeah.
It can be 10 stars out of 10, but it's 0 bricks out of 10.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just look at Home Alone. Numerous bricks.
It's such an essential part of gameplay that I can't believe they left it out. It's almost insulting to the fan base.
How dare they?
I'm really impressed at the ways that the number of times, like looking back, are like, this is better. They made this change and this is legit better than how it was done in the game.
That was the question I was going to ask, is do you feel like you can say with confidence that you have a preference for one story over the other, between you two who played the game and then watched the show? I think that's an important distinction.
That's a good question.
I feel like they're so similar that I couldn't pick a preference. I definitely right now, I definitely, they're so similar in so many ways, but I'm still like super impressed with the TV show because it's like you stayed faithful to the source material and yet changed stuff that improved what I already thought was amazing and didn't need improving. Like,
so I feel the exact same way,
like,
but I still think the game's better.
Okay.
And the reason why is because of the interactive aspect to it. That's
that
why.
makes
It's the
sense.
sole reason why I think the game is better. Because it's just something that television literally can't do. And
I
I
agree
think
with that.
that, I mean, obviously, like this show is so engaging, but it'll never be as engaging as having a controller and making the character do the things that they're doing on screen. But that's just personal preference to me.
That's fair.
At one point, like I could see, like we were talking about last episode, like I want that sequence where you're fighting infected with David, and like there like the subway sequence that they skipped this episode. Like I enjoy that sequence, and so there's stuff in the show, but I'm sure if I go back and play the game, I'm gonna be thinking of the TV show and like, oh, I wish we had that little backstory that we got in the. Yeah, and I can imagine playing the game where I'm like, I just want to insert parts of the show in here because it just added more depth. And so I don't know that I can necessarily pick a favorite, but I can definitely see what you're saying about like there's an extra layer of interactivity that you don't get from the show.
But as a bit of a compromise, apparently we are getting a lot more infected in part 2, which I mean, we better because there's certain somebody that I want to see. And which we may not get for a while if they do multiple seasons of part 2, which they said they are.
They are. There's no way that they're not. Part 2 is twice as long as part 1, so they're gonna do multiple seasons.
I am 7 hours into part 2 on grounded mode, which I'm playing grounded again, and I'm not even halfway.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I know. I'm an idiot. Don't mind me.
What day are you on?
Seattle day 2.
You're dead. You have.
Huh?
You haven't even gotten to day 3.
No, I haven't. I haven't gotten to day 3.
Okay.
It's long. Okay, it's long.
It's long,
and it's so much more difficult. My God. So that's. Oh, what's your guys' favorite episode?
Oh no! Don't do that.
Oh boy. Favorite episode or the one that made me cry the hardest?
other than episode 3.
Favorite episode. That's a toughie.
That's really hard.
I probably gotta say Endure and Survive, probably. That one made me feel the worst.
Yeah, I'm torn between that one and Left Behind.
Left Behind was really good. Man, they're all so strong. I don't know,
For me, I think Long Time and this episode are probably my favorites.
Okay. Man. Yeah. Anyone could tell me any of the episodes was their favorite and I'd be like, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
There's a single weak episode.
No, there's really not.
I don't feel like.
I mean, if I had to say one, if someone put a gun to my head and told me that, I would tell them to shoot me. But if I had to pick one, maybe Kin with Jackson, maybe.
That one's pretty good.
But even then, there's so many good scenes in that.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I might land on that one too.
I really appreciated that each episode was like its own individual contained story.
Yeah, that's a good point. They were too. Yeah, like I mean, they're obviously there's connective tissue and all that.
Yeah,
but like it really is its own little. Each one of them are their own.
I mean, Long Time is basically its own short film,
right? But they're each so contained with what they want to say in this episode, and then they move on to the next one, and it's I don't know what to do with that.
That's awesome, though. You're right, and it's such great storytelling and writing.
It's gonna be so long until we get the second season.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got to bring up a complaint that I've been having since the beginning of the fucking show.
How dare you? How dare you?
And now that we're at the last episode, I can voice this as a nitpick. And the camera is never fucking stationary. Wow. Oh my god, every shot, like, level. It's got the, like, I'm carrying the camera look, and it's every shot.
Yeah, I know some people are really sensitive to shaky cam. For the most part, it's supposed to add anxiety.
It did that.
It did that.
It did.
Also added motion sickness.
I don't notice it most of the time, so for me it wasn't a big deal.
I don't think it was too bad. I have seen a lot worse.
Yeah,
Watch
like,
back through with that in your mind, and my god, every single shot it's swaying left to right. Maybe it's just because I was a camera guy for a while, but like, holy shit.
I do think I would love for there to be more action choreography in season 2, because I don't think the fight teams were lame, but I guess I was expecting a bit more, and I get that that's not the whole thing about it, but I guess coming from a game in which one of the memorable parts is like the visceral combat, I guess I feel that the visceral combat added a lot for me in terms of tone, but that's just me.
That's fair. I didn't have, it wasn't a super serious critique. I was trying to elicit everybody's. But
yes.
Yeah, Liara, do you have a critique?
Listen, obviously the brick thing is the most important thing.
That's, the real one, the meaningful.
Yeah.
You
What
wanna...
the fuck, Neil?
You want a fun fact that ruins the story?
Yes, those are my favorite.
In real life, cordyceps does not touch the brain at all.
So blood-brain barrier seems like it would be an issue, and I didn't understand why, basically, generally. Like, it wouldn't need the brain. It just needs the nervous system, I think. But.
Yeah, so that was actually, I don't know when, because the scientists did used to think that that's where cordyceps go, like it went to the brain to control, like, that naturally that makes sense. And I don't know when the game came out to like the timeline to where they actually did the study. Like they studied an ant and they were able to identify cordyceps tissue, and they found that cordyceps grows everywhere, particularly in the muscles. It's seeking to control your muscles and your movements, but it leaves the brain completely 100% untouched. And they believe that it does that because it needs the brain to be intact in order to control it. It needs the brain to be the computer that controls everything,
do all the autonomic functions,
and cordyceps isn't complex or intelligent enough to like replace the brain, so it leaves the brain and it just like puppeteers your muscles.
It does suggest then that you might still be aware on some level of what's going on as that occurs, and like trapped in your own body. That's terrifying to imagine, but or at least that you retain some functionality of your own brain. Ugh, don't like that.
Yeah, the thought that you're trapped in your own body is terrifying. But, if you apply real world concepts to Ellie's situation, they don't need to kill her. They may need to take some muscle tissue. But they don't need to kill her.
That seems like it's like a conceit of the, like you're saying. It's kind of
you'd have no story otherwise, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, right.
But if you apply game logic, which is that it does grow in the brain, then Sam's fear is not correct, and you aren't yourself, and it's fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's cool. Don't worry. You're just Mushroom Man at that point. It's all good.
But real life Sam is correct, and that's terrible.
Yeah,
right.
No, that doesn't sound great.
I don't mean to point this out, but I just realized that it's pretty funny. This episode was the shortest one, but I think this recording is going to be by far the longest.
I mean, there's so much to talk about.
We'll see after it gets out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We gotta, you gotta cap off the whole series. It's not just the conversation about the episode.
No, yeah, absolutely. For sure. I just thought it was funny.
We kind of glossed over it before, but Joel telling Ellie that, he was the guy who missed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the game, it's hinted at, but it is not specifically stated like it is in the show. So like there's there's a moment in the game where you're exploring this hotel and Ellie finds these two people who are dead, but there's no bites or anything on them. And she says, I guess they took the easy way out. And Joel says, trust me, it's not easy. And that's like...
I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's pretty... There's
like
that indication. Yeah, that's as close as it gets. That and like the way he interacts with Henry. Like the way that he knows what's going through Henry's head.
That was...
Yeah, so I think... Yeah, that's the only indication that you get. That's something that I had been guessing at for a really long time. And for them to actually explicitly spell it out in the show, I was like, oh my god, it's happening!
Right? Oh.
That seemed like a weird... that inclusion was is strange to see the sudden... It was like, I guess, right alongside the Sarah conversation, it felt like suddenly Joel was being like completely honest as well.
Yeah.
Which was like a... But I don't know how you can like allude to that subtly throughout this episode. You know, like there aren't a lot of opportunities to... I mean, you could throw that scene in again, probably. Just have the two people and talk about it that way. But I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, it was definitely... He's just opening up to her and like explaining everything. He does... There's a different conversation that happens when they find when they're in that decrepit medical area, and I can't quite remember what it's about, but
interesting.
But it is like that kind of moment is Joel just being more open with her about Sarah and about like his life before, which he's like, we keep our past experiences to ourselves. Yeah. So it kind of parallels the same thing, but to actually get confirmation that he tried to take his own life and failed is... I don't really know what it is one way or the other, but it was impactful. I was like, okay, we finally, like, we know the speculation is over.
And I think it kind of retroactively adds a lot of weight to the, like you were talking about, Henry and Sam scene
it does.
There. It kind of like, oh wow, yeah, like he really did get what was happening there. He knows what it's like to not know what to do with yourself anymore and to feel like there isn't a point.
Like you just lost everything that you've fought your whole life for.
Yeah.
And Joel's like, oh shit.
And we're seeing Ellie confront that reality here at the end of the episode, essentially. Like what she understood the purpose of her life to be now is not a thing that she can do.
Yeah. And that's gotta suck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just everything tying together, though. Oh, such good writing.
Man, I think I can just sum up this whole show. Good writing.
Good writing.
Very good.
good ass writing.
Damn, that's good writing.
Make that the 5-star vanity review. Good writing.
Right. No. The 0-star. Well, 0-star. Good writing, good characters, no brick throwing. I'm not gonna let this go. Come on, Neil.
Exactly it.
There were no palettes either. We got no palettes.
To be honest with you, I'm fine with that.
I wanted the reference. I would have laughed.
I was going to say there wasn't a crafting joke either. I was kind of hopeful that we would have seen some sort of silliness along those lines. Oh well, so it goes.
All right, guys. I would love to talk more. I'm running out of steam.
It is late.
It is. Wonderful show, though.
And don't think you've seen The Last of Us, by the way.
Even though you have, because it's the show.
I'm so good. I'm so fucking good. I'm so good.